Huge MMA news. We got Tai Bam Bam Tuivasa making his UFC return at UFC 282 or at UFC 284, either in Australia on the main card or on the main card of UFC 282. As I was very confused when I saw this, but he said he has a fight announcement soon, and he put a Santa Claus emoji there. Originally, I was like, for sure, has to be UFC 284. But looking at the Santa Claus emoji, I'm not 100% too sure. We could definitely see Bam Bam Tuivasa at UFC 282. Also talking about Walker versus Craig at 283. And who will Volkanovski fight next in the lightweight division. All of this in today's MMA news video. Make sure to go down and smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to get notified for more MMA news videos. We post 3 to 4 videos every single day, and some days we do go live as well. Make sure to like and subscribe and turn on those notifications and comments. Who do y'all think wins, Johnny Walker, Paul Craig, and who will Tai Bam Bam Tuivasa fight inside of the UFC? But with all that being said, let's get into the MMA news. Tai Bam Bam Tuivasa making his return in the heavyweight division against either two or three names that I'm mainly looking at. Is going to be Curtis Blades as my least likely opponents for Tai Bam Bam Tuivasa, and then Alexander Volkov and Sergei Pavlovich, but I'm leaning more towards Sergei Pavlovich on the main card of UFC 284 in Perth, Australia. Just announced about an hour ago, fight announcement soon with some Santa Claus emojis and things like that. Not too sure what that's gonna mean. Maybe he's returning at UFC 282, as he did put a Santa Claus emoji right there. But I don't know. I don't know what to think about Tai Tuivasa. Will he return at UFC 282 or will he return at UFC 284? We'll have to find out, but I do believe it will be against one of two guys, Alexander Volkov or the man, the myth, the legend, Sergei Pavlovich. And personally, I think he would beat Alexander Volkov should they fight, and I think he would actually beat Sergei Pavlovich should they fight as well. Although the Sergei Pavlovich fight is going to be a very, very close one in the heavyweight division. So I just now saw that little Santa Claus emoji right there, which kind of leads me to believe he might be making a UFC 282 main card fight. I really don't know if that's going to be the card or if it's going to be UFC 284, since he is an Australian and that pay-per-view is going to be in Australia. But what do y'all think? UFC 282 or UFC 284 against Sergei, against Alexander Volkov, or against someone else that I did not even mention in today's video? Put your thoughts down below. Johnny Walker and Paul Craig on the main card of UFC 283. The two light heavyweights, both inside of the top 15. Johnny Walker in the prime of his MMA career, one of the tallest, one of the lengthiest fighters in this division at 6'6" tall with an 82-inch reach. Better striker, taller, lengthier, younger, and more finishing ability on the feet. I mean, obviously, Paul Craig has that ability to get that triangle choke submission on the ground, has so many submission wins and TKO wins due to ground and pound inside of the UFC. But it's a good fight that have been announced for UFC 283. I do believe Johnny Walker will be able to defend a lot of the takedowns of Paul Craig and outstrike him on the feet, catch the chin of Paul Bear Jew Craig, and knock him out in round 1 or round number 2. But it is a very exciting fight in the light heavyweight division. Juliana Pena wants a trilogy with Amanda Nunes inside of the bantamweight division. We got a quote. Everyone keep asking me what's next. I'm getting my belt back. That is what's next. A trilogy with Amanda Nunes is the fight to make. I did everything I said I was going to do into that first fight. I gave Amanda Nunes the immediate rematch within 6 months, and any man, maybe, I'm not sure what to say, and man, maybe I should have sat out for 2 years like she does. She told all y'all she could have finished me in round number 2, but I guess she wanted to get her face rearranged for 3 more rounds and leave on a stretcher instead. She even said we headbutted, and you guys believe it never happened. She had to go home and change and revamp her entire style to beat me. I take it as a compliment. She outsmarted me in the second fight, and I'll give her that. We are 1-1 in the UFC, and in the trilogy, I will not miss. At UFC, the hashtag trilogy needs to happen. Let's effing go. Hashtag facts. At Dana White, at Sean Shelby, at Mike Tyson, at all of these people. She wants that trilogy in the bantamweight division. Personally, I think Ketlin Vieira should be getting the title fight with Amanda Nunes at UFC 283 in Brazil. And if Juliana Pena fights maybe a Holly Holm in the UFC's bantamweight division and can win that one, then maybe I'll give her the title fight. But as of right now, I would disagree with Juliana Pena getting the title fight. What do y'all think? Khamzat Chimaev taking on Stephen Wonderboy Thompson was actually a fight the UFC was looking on making early on in Khamzat Chimaev's career. After Khamzat's win over Reese McKee, they literally gave a contract to Stephen Wonderboy Thompson saying, do you want to fight Khamzat Chimaev? Here's the offer for a main card of a pay-per-view. And Stephen Thompson flat out rejected Khamzat Chimaev's call-out in the welterweight division. He said, who even is Khamzat Chimaev? There's no way I'm taking that big of a risk. But even that early on in Khamzat Chimaev's career, after the 2 wins back-to-back in the UFC's welterweight and middleweight division, the UFC was already looking at putting him against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. And Stephen recently announced that he flat out rejected that fight against Khamzat Chimaev, which, let's be honest, was the perfect thing for him to do. There's no way he should have gone out there saying, dude, I would love to fight Khamzat. He made the good move in rejecting Khamzat Chimaev. But who would have won? I think it's pretty obvious that Khamzat would have won, but put your predictions down below. And we got another one also in the welterweight division. We're going to move it up a little bit on this list really quick because I kind of want to keep them on the same thing in the welterweight division. Speaking of Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson has just signed a 6-fight deal in the UFC, and that is going to be the last 6 fights of his MMA career and of his UFC career. He says he still has ambitions of becoming a UFC champion, but let's all be real. He is not going to become a UFC champion anytime soon or by the end of his MMA career. He's on a 2-fight losing streak to Bilal Muhammad and Gilbert Burns. Lost to Anthony Pettis and Darren Till a few years before that, while only beating Jeff Neal and Vicente Luque. High-ranked guys, but neither of which are inside of the top 5. And nobody he's beaten in his UFC career, except for Robert Whittaker, is in the top 5 of their respective divisions. And now, after a 2-fight losing streak up until this Kevin Holland fight has been announced, after the Kevin Holland fight is going to be done, he'll have 5 more fights in the UFC. I don't know if he's going to really do that good in those last 5 fights, but he did say he's not looking to fight the best guys in the welterweight division. He's not looking to go out there and fight the Khamzat Chimaevs of the welterweight division, the Shavkat Rakhmanovs, the Sean Bradys of the welterweight division. He's saying, I want to fight the Kevin Hollands of the welterweight division, the D-Rods, the Neil Magnies, the Michel Pereiras, the Robbie Lawlers, the Jorge Masvidals. These type of fighters are the fighters that Stephen Thompson is saying he is interested in fighting in the welterweight division. What do y'all think about Thompson's 6-fight new deal with the UFC? Paddy Pimblett predicts Jake Paul and Anderson Silva in November on the 29th. 25 and 47-year-old Anderson Silva and Jake Paul will be fighting in the main event in Glendale, Arizona. And Paddy Pimblett, one of the biggest UFC stars and one of the fattest UFC lightweights in the world, has given his prediction for this Anderson Silva-Jake Paul fight, which 71% of Tapology is going Silva, 29% is going Jake Paul, and guess who Paddy Pimblett is going to be predicting? Let's go on to Google really quick. Paddy Pimblett says that Anderson Silva will go out there and beat Jake Paul, saying, and I quote, Paul is going to realize what it's like fighting a striker. Ben Askren was not a striker. Tyron Woodley, even though we had some good knockout wins in the UFC, he is still not a striker. Paddy says one of the best strikers in MMA history is going to come on and fight Jake Paul now. I don't think Jake Paul is going to be able to make 3 rounds with Anderson Silva in that fight. As you say, he's one of the greatest of all time, definitely in the UFC, says Paddy the Paddy Pimblett. I'm with you on the prediction as well. I can't see Jake Paul getting out of 3 rounds. There is no chance. He's going to realize what it's like fighting an actual striker, and he is going to get bingo. He's saying he's going to get knocked out by Anderson Silva. Who do y'all have winning? I got Silva by a decision. Paddy Pimblett has Silva by a finish inside of 3 rounds. The best month of MMA in 2022 was, in my opinion, going to be June of 2022. Let's take a look at a few of the fight cards. Number 1, we had Alexander Volkov taking on Jairzinho Rozenstruik. In the main event, we had undefeated Movsar Evloev, Dan Ige in the co-main, which was a banger of a fight. In the featherweight division, the main event, it was 1 round, but it was a really good fight. Got to see a very good heavyweight clash and a good knockout in round number 1. Had a hiccup there. We had Lucas Almeida, Mike Trizano, which was a banger back and forth war in the featherweight division. Women's flyweights going out there getting a finish. Ode Osborne getting a counter right hook knockout. Alonzo getting a ground and pound TKO. Carolina Kovalkiewicz getting a submission. Alex da Silva getting a knockdown in round 1. Coming back is Joe Solecki getting the win. Benoit with the finish. Damon Jackson getting rocked. Coming back with the wrestling and grappling to win. Gravely with the knockout. Hanat Fakhretdinov grappling and wrestling. Aaron Blanchfield with the submission. Even this UFC fight night was a very, very solid one. 14 fights of action on that UFC fight night, but that's not the main one that I want to talk about. It is UFC 275. Teixeira versus Prochazka in the light heavyweight division. Oh my gosh, this card was a banger. The start of the card was okay with Edwards and Ramona, but we had a women's MMA in the lowest weight class of the UFC, getting a first round knockout in 1 minute and 22 seconds. We had a banger striking match, Banjario Dana Kyung Ho Ka. We had Makhachev at 9-1, a very young prospect at an easy 1 minute 14 second knockout. A banger war between Sung Woo Choi and Joshua Cooley-Bao, one of the best fights of the card besides the main event. Jack Della Maddalena with a liver punch in round 1. That was awesome. Matthews knocking out Andre Fialio in round 2. Wei Li Zhang with a spinning back fist. Shevchenko almost losing to Tyler Santos. Jiri Prochazka Glover with one of the most back and forth wars in the UFC. That month, those first 2 cards of June of 2022 were absolutely insane. Volkov, Rozenstruik, and Teixeira Prochazka were some amazing cards, not to mention UFC Fight Night Emmett versus Cater. Started off the card with a 1 minute finish from Roman Dolidze, a second round knockout from Phil Halls, a 59-second knockout from Cody Stamann right there, a back and forth fight in the strawweight division that ended by a very close split decision. Another 1 minute finish. This was the third 1 minute finish of the card with a spinning back elbow. And then another 1 minute finish from Jeremiah Wells. These prelims were stacked with 1 minute finishes. Then we had a banger women's MMA fight. Natalia Silva, Jasmine Jazz the Vicious. Main card at Adrian Yanez, knockout Tony Kelly. Gregory Rodriguez go back and forth in a 3-minute war with Julian Marquez. We had 2 rising prospects at lightweight. And Demir getting a very, very close split decision. Buckley going out there winning round 1. And getting a Stockton stoppage, cutting up Albert the Rive and swelling up his eye in round number 2. Kevin Holland getting getting a submission, and then the 5-round banger main event of Emmett versus Calvin Kattar. I mean, even these 3 cards in a row were absolutely amazing cards, and we had one more fight card in June of 2022, and this one was a good one as well. First fight of the night, but we did have Mario Batista going out there, going amazingly on the feet, getting the back of Bryan, submitting him in less than half of a round. Cody Durden, a wrestler, knocking out JP Buys, barely over a minute. Sergei and Halion going in almost a fight of the night type of matchup there. That was a banger. Shailon, TJ Brown, banger wrestling and grappling in that one. Ulberg with a 1-minute KO. Chris Curtis outstriking Odolfo, defending like 20 takedowns in that fight, winning a decision. Umar getting a 30-25 decision. Thiago with the submission. Josh Parisian with a TKO. Shavkat getting a submission. And then the banger main event. That was Arman Tsarukyan, Mateusz Gamrot. You're looking at every other fight card that was on UFC. It was in UFC in June, July, August, maybe January, February, March, April, so on and so forth. You look at every single one of all of those specific cards, and I'm going to be dead honest with you, none of them top UFC June. I mean, June was absolutely amazing. Starting off ending with Tsarukyan versus Gamrot. Starting off with the banger that was Volkov Rosenstruck. The banger that was Teixeira, Prochazka, and Kattar versus Emmett. Those were by far the 4 best fight cards in a month in the whole year of 2022. June was an absolute banger of a month. There was 2 robberies in the main events with Kattar and Emmett and Arman Tsarukyan, Mateusz Gamrot, but it was an amazing month. UFC June 2022. Put your thoughts down below. Do you agree or disagree that that was the best month in the UFC? Ali Isaev, undefeated, 9-0 heavyweight, former PFL champion in 2019, has just signed with Bellator MMA after a 3-year layoff. I mean, getting cancellations with Hatev Moyel, Henan Ferreira, Klitzin Abreu, and Jamel Jones. All fights I thought he was going to win, but this is a very good signing by Bellator, as we got an Olympic wrestler, one of the best prospects outside of the UFC. Even though he is 38 years old, he is super high level in terms of wrestling and grappling, and his striking really is not too bad as well. I expect him to do very good and enter the top 5 of the Bellator's heavyweight division. What do y'all think? Is Ali Isaev a future heavyweight champion inside of Bellator MMA? Joanderson, Brito, and Lucas Alexander in the featherweight division. Short notice, as originally we had Melsik Bagdasaryan and Joanderson Brito. I did go Melsik Bagdasaryan by a decision, but now we are getting Lucas Alexander stepping up on short notice. Mainly a tall, rangy counterpuncher, looking at land the leg kicks on the outside and land that left hook and straight right down the middle. Mainly trying to run away and just kind of play that Israel Adesanya counterpunching game. Coming off a 3 TKO doctor stoppage type of wins in a row, 1 ref stoppage, 1 TKO, and 1 injury win in round number 2 over former UFC fighter Jacob Kilburn. But I'm going to be dead honest with you. I'm very confident on my pick here. Joanderson Brito, out of 1 pick on Tapology, 1 pick is going Alexander for some reason. Pretty funny in my opinion, but Joanderson Brito should win. The man is more powerful on the feet, as we saw in the fight with Andre Fili. Went out there, took down Diego Lopez with explosive wrestling and takedowns. I believe on the feet, he will be able to catch that chin of Lucas Alexander, and if he keeps catching him on the chin, it'll open up possibilities for Joanderson Brito to land the takedown on Lucas Alexander. So I do believe as Lucas is going to be staying on the outside, looking at laying the leg kicks, the body kicks, the front kicks, the jabs, the 1-2s, that left hook as Joanderson is coming in. Joanderson will be able to land some big shots on the feet, get the hands to come up on Lucas Alexander, and take down Lucas Alexander and ground and pound. Get the back of Lucas, side of the head, side of the head, side of the head, and get a ground and pound TKO in round number 1 or round number 2. It's either that or he's going to do what he did did against Andre Fili and just catch him with something big on the feet. But Lucas Alexander has only been finished once, and it was a rear naked choke submission. I think that position will be given to Joanderson Brito here. He will get the back, but he's not going to go for that submission. Side of the head, side of the head. And I got Joanderson Brito in round 1 or round 2 by ground and pound TKO. Solid fight there in the UFC's featherweight division. Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev will be a very boring fight or a very entertaining fight, says the man, the myth, the legend, who has already fought Charles Oliveira in Justin Gaethje. And I disagree with Justin. I don't think there's a world and a possibility that Islam Makhachev Oliveira is going to be a boring fight, because Oliveira is a very good striker, really good jiu-jitsu. Islam's a very good wrestler with pretty okay striking. Oliveira is going to be on the front foot, which is going to force Islam Makhachev to go on the back foot a little bit or just shoot the takedowns to kind of mitigate the pressure of Charles Oliveira. And even if Islam's able to go out there and get 5 takedowns in every round, round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4, round 5, and is able to control for 5 rounds, it is still going to be an entertaining fight. There's still no way that this fight will be boring in the UFC's lightweight division, because even if it's a grappling match for 5 rounds, there's going to be so many scrambles, so many submission attempts, lots and lots of ground and pound triangles, arm bars, guillotines, rear naked attempts, Granby rolls. I mean, all sorts of scrambles in this Oliveira-Makhachev fight if it is a grappling match. And if it isn't, well, it's going to be a striking match, which you already know. Oliveira in a striking match is a very, very fun thing to witness. So I disagree with Justin Gaethje here. There is a 0.00% chance Oliveira-Islam Makhachev is a boring fight. It will be an amazing fight in the lightweight division. Anderson the Spider Silva, one of the greatest MMA fighters of all time, 3-1 as a professional boxer, beating Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., as well as Tito Ortiz. About to fight Jake Paul, has given his prediction for Charles do Bronx Oliveira and Islam Makhachev. Charles Oliveira, being his countryman from Brazil, he did say that Charles Oliveira will go out there and finish Islam Makhachev in round 2, round 3, or round number 4. He does believe his fellow countryman will beat Islam Makhachev in the lightweight division. And personally, I would have to agree. I do believe Oliveira will finish Islam with strikes or with a knee down the middle in round 3. Do you agree with Anderson the Spider Silva in this lightweight division? That is it for today's MMA news. We did have Tai Tuivasa versus Sergei Pavlovich or Alexander Volkov at UFC 284. Or UFC 282, as we did find out on the main card. We got Johnny Walker versus Paul Craig at UFC 283. I gave my early prediction. We got Stephen Thompson rejecting Khamzat Chimaev fight, is scared of a wrestler. Stephen Thompson signed 6-fight deal with the UFC. Pimblett predicts Jake Paul Anderson Silva. The best month inside of the UFC in 2022 was June. Juliana Pena wants trilogy with Amanda Nunes. Bellator signs Undefeated Ali Isaev. Joanderson Brito Lucas Almeida prediction. Oliveira Makhachev could be a boring fight, says Justin Gaethje. I'm going to be dead honest with you. I 100% disagree. And Anderson Silva predicts Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev. That's what I have for you in today's MMA news video. As usual, comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. Definitely helps out with that UFC algorithm. Like and subscribe. Turn on them notifications. Thank y'all for watching. Go watch some more of my other videos, and we'll see you in the next one.